Going live. Let's see. Oh, it says we're live. The question is, are we live?
I think we're close to being live.
It's on a bit of a delay, gentlemen. So we'll see if
we are good to go.
Insert ads. Can I insert ads? Is that what I can do? Can we do that live?
I didn't know we could do ads.
I don't know how any of this works.
It looks good on my end, so I think we're good to go.
We are good to go.
You should hit the little intro button.
Are we going to start the show while people are coming in?
We're gonna let people slowly come in here. Welcome everybody.
Let's see if we can make this official and see if I screw it up or not. Here we go.
Hit the button, Steven.
Welcome to the Tom Storey Show with Steve Karrasch and Tom Storey, where we discuss everything real estate or whatever else is on our minds.
Yeah.
All right. I think it worked. The question is, can I turn the music off or not? I'm gonna fade it out.
We got James here in the chat. We got Green Bean 44 in the chat.
Green Bean is here.
What up, James? You're not too far from us. We're in Vancouver right now for a very special live podcast. I still don't know, Steve. Are we're putting this on audio too, or this is just going to be whatever we say here?
We'll find out, because I just remembered to press record on audio right now. So
okay. Well, welcome back, everybody, to a very, very. I feel like there's a lot of times I say that it's a special episode, but this is legitimately a special episode because Nolan's with us.
Oh,
physically with us.
And by special, you mean like not at all because I'm here?
The one thing we want to know, Nolan, is your pick right now: sour beer or
Scotch.
Scotch.
By the way,
I knew I liked this guy,
because I know it's kind of been a joke on the show since we started, but this sour beer that Steve bought me is 10%.
Steve's wife bought you.
Most sour beers are like 4 to 6%. So it's really coming at me strong. Also, Steve, can you show the camera what we got here?
Can we?
Just one of them, maybe.
How about that? Does that work?
Yeah. Well, it's a little delayed, but you should be good to go.
No, I'm looking at the live feed here.
It's
just
good.
Don't worry about the technician stuff. I got the good stuff here. We've been spreading those around the conference. The reason we're all together is because we were at Masters Academy.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. And now we're just going to come here and talk about the market. What's going on? Tom Storey, Nolan Matthias.
What's going on? Well, first of all, Vancouver, the weather's like amazing.
It's fantastic.
Like absolutely amazing. I've been to Vancouver maybe like 4 or 5 times and always in the summer. Mm-hmm. But it's not usually this nice.
Oh, wow.
So this has been...
this is beautiful.
Yeah. What's Calgary like this time of year?
Like this, a little hotter, a little drier.
Yeah.
But this is cool. Like getting up in the morning, I went and did a little walk this morning down by the waterfront there. Like, wow, it makes you want to move to Vancouver if you didn't know what it was like in the winter.
I got up as late as possible today.
Oh,
last night.
You didn't wake up early with everyone at 5 a.m. and go do the run?
A good one, man. I told you when we were doing like the advertisements and stuff, my favorite part of this thing is like connecting with everybody. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You guys are definitely good at that. People love you here. I mean, that one fan of yours, Steve. Holy cow.
People have spoken. It was fun.
So wait, so
we spent like 2 hours with you.
We went to the hotel bar last night, and someone came down, really nice guy, and recognized me from the podcast. But when he saw Steve, he was like a 14-year-old seeing like I don't know, Justin Bieber. Well, lost his mind.
And to be clear, he recognized you and asked immediately where Steve was.
Yeah, it's like, hey, Tom, where's Steve?
It's true. That's exactly what happened. He's like, you're Tom Storey. Where's Steve? Actually, he mistook the back of somebody else's head for Steve, got really, really excited, and then I've never seen disappointment like the disappointment that was in his face when somebody else that was not Steve turned around.
You know what? Speaking about the back of people's heads, on the first day of the conference, I walked in and I was looking for Steve. And I didn't recognize him from behind because he's lost so much weight.
And I was wearing a suit.
Yeah, and he was wearing like a professional, outfit for once.
It's crazy. You look good, dude. I mean, last time I saw you would have been, September? And it's like a whole different human being.
Yeah, man. January 2nd, I was 243.6 pounds.
Wow.
And this last Monday, I just weighed in at 194. So 50
wow.
pounds. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I've had sushi 3 times since we've been downtown Vancouver, so I'm sure I'm back up at least 10.
And what's the end goal? Are you trying to get to a certain weight?
Goal.
Oh, you're past goal.
Yeah.
So now it's just maintaining and
No, I want to keep going.
Okay.
Turns out you got a lot more to lose than you thought you did when you were that.
and
far
when you
over,
get
man.
to the goal, is it to like build muscle and keep going and
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to be healthy. So let's pour another scotch and get into real estate.
yeah. Okay, so we were just at a 2-day real estate conference, and one thing I thought was interesting in day one is that Rich showed the last basically like decade of Canadian real estate sales. And showed how, you know, we were averaging around 450 to 500,000 sales over the last decade, and then 2020, where there's a few months where we couldn't do anything because of the pandemic, was the second biggest year of all time. I think we went to like 550,000 or something, and then 2021 was 650,000.
That one 2021
Just
number was
bumped
just
all the way up.
insanity.
Like I think that's going to be the outlier, maybe for the next decade. Because think
we're
of
not
it,
going to
right?
see that again.
No one could travel, so you weren't spending money on anything. They got obsessed with homes. You could borrow money basically for free.
Yeah,
Like that's not going to happen again.
I don't think we're going to see it again. I don't see. We also are now that drove us past affordability, right?
Yeah.
And as a result, you're just not going to see those type of transactions until prices come down, which I don't think anybody here thinks that's likely going to happen in our markets anyway. Maybe I don't know about Calgary. I guess it depends on whatever the dollar per liter is right now. And then, yeah, I just don't see a situation where we hopefully ever go back to those rates, right?
Yeah.
Like-
Well, I mean, anything's possible, but
So I guess we have learned.
yeah, I mean, but what I found really interesting, Tom, was what you pointed out about those graphs, and it didn't matter if it was the sales numbers, if it was the prices, it didn't matter what it was. If you take 2022 out of it,
Yeah.
the trend line is consistently up.
Yeah.
And because 2023 has come back so much from what
From
2022
where we were.
was.
Yeah, because it showed like I looked at 2019 when it wasn't just sales, but it was price. And I think in 2022 or maybe it was 2021, we got to like over $800,000 average price in Canada. Not like Toronto, like Canada, which is crazy.
Our stats just came out today.
Yeah.
We are up 5% year over year. Now, I know we saw 2 months of down first, April and May, but the June numbers are up 5%.
That's over last year.
Over last June, yeah. And sales are up like 1,900. The average is 1,700 in June. So we're above floating averages in everything again.
I'm going to hijack this real quick because
Do it.
you gave Steve one of the best presentations today I've ever seen on knowing your market from a realtor.
You're such a sucker.
You gotta
I appreciate that.
You got to talk about. It was really good, dude, and gave me a lot of really great ideas for the upcoming market stat updates we're going to do on my new channel. Shameless plug.
Wait, what's the new channel?
So the new channel is purely Canadian real estate focused. My other channel has drifted to more wealth and just a more
Finance
American and
yeah.
finance in general, like how to thrive and how to give back sort of content. So I'm moving the old style content, which hasn't existed for like the last 6 to 8 months, over to this new channel, which means we're going back to like real estate market updates.
He's trying to move all the trolls to a different channel.
Yeah.
How long do you think till Nolan's new
wonder
channel
if-
blows by us?
If Green Bean is still on, Green Bean, we got a new channel for you.
Oh no, Green Bean was already on there this morning.
Let us know, by the way, because people are coming in here. Let us know where you're from in the chat. And if you have any specific topics, like we got topics we're going to cover today, but
I guess we may as well actually interact too. Right?
yeah, let me know. I'll watch the chat and I'll keep these guys informed. But going back to what you were saying with what Steve talked about today, we should talk about some of those things now because what it was in the conference today was like, here's the things you need to know as a real estate agent to give good advice to your clients. But even if someone's not looking to buy or sell right now, can you go over some of the things you talked about today?
Well, what I want to hear specifically is what you talked about with respect to a buyer's versus a seller's market and understanding those numbers, because that was
So
amazing.
The basic breakdown is it's either months of inventory or consumption rate.
Right.
So months of inventory is simple number I report. That's the stupid cat video I did on my channel, right? Like that's what we break down. That's the easier one to understand. But that exact same calculation can be done in a percentage, consumption rate. And it's that simple to see where you were. But what I did in the presentation today is I showed those guys, all the agents that were there, how to see where they are today by looking at total active listings. And then where you're going, which is looking at new listings versus new sales. And that is a very good predictor of your next 30 days in the market. And everybody's like, where's the market going? Well, I understand our let's call it YouTube comment trolls are thinking that everything is, what did Jordan call it? The goldfish mentality of like, we can only think like this far in advance, right? We can't conceptualize the distance. But just that thing of listing sales and then months of inventory is a really good determiner of where you're going to be in the next 30 to 90 days. Let's say 60 days, right? It's a really good way to tell where you're going to be. And shocking for a lot of people, I didn't think, and I put it on my channel, June wasn't necessarily the best time to buy, and July, according to what's happening right now, is looking really good in comparison to where we were.
Yeah, I think prices are going to hover or slow down a little bit here.
Stop going up.
Over the next, stop going up.
Yep.
Yeah. The Toronto numbers just came out, and I'm looking at them right now, and year over year for June, we were up 3.2%. So when we talk about months of inventory, there was 14,000, here, I'll just do this math right now, 14,107 active listings.
Okay.
And there was 7,000, I got to start that again.
2 months of inventory.
Yeah, basically two. It was easy, but I want to get the exact 2.1 months of inventory or whatever.
Yeah.
Which fundamentally continues to put Toronto in a market that is favoring the sellers on paper.
Which is 50% consumption rate, and prices are going up.
By the way, Green Bean says that most of the time they are defending us from the trolls. That is.
I will notice.
And shout out Amy from Toronto. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching the podcast.
Yeah, no, Green Bean's definitely one of the more bulls I think that is out there.
I think and pretty cool. Like Green Bean consistently watches all of our channels.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Thank you.
I'd love to know who that person is in real life.
I would love to organize something where we pick our top 10 names,
right,
of people that are all on. Like we could probably, I could list my 20, your 20, your 20, and then on that list we take the top 10 that are on all of them, and then
on both sides of the argument,
and do like a meet and greet, right? And
with an octagon in the center.
No, nobody's gonna say bad things. Listen, I disagree with the NDP philosophy on most things. And we managed to have a fantastic conversation with the housing minister. He's a great guy. We obviously don't believe in a lot of the core fundamentals on how a government or whatever should be run. But you got to be able to have good conversations with people if you disagree with them.
That's a good plug. So anyone that's watching this right now, whether
I set you up for
that
one.
You did. That was great. Whether you're watching this live or you're watching this on replay at some point, we put out a midweek episode, which we never, well, I know this is midweek too, but with the housing minister of BC, Ravi Kahlon, and we got 30 minutes just to basically pepper him with questions about the housing market, about the Homes for People plan. And I came away from that feeling like very optimistic. Not that this is going to be solved right away, but this is going to take decades, probably, not one decade, decades to figure this out, because we are so far gone on affordability. But not from BC. Talking to him, I was like, well, at least you have someone making these decisions that is passionate about it, is a smart guy, and seems to know what he's talking about.
He didn't sound like a crazy...
He didn't sound like a politician.
Socialist politician.
No.
Right? He didn't sound like that at all. He sounded like he had some really good points. I didn't really agree with some of the stuff that he said, obviously, but...
What didn't you agree with?
I just don't think that his idea of we need the taxation is not necessarily the way I feel, but what I'm trying to do, and I'm really bad at this, Tom, you're much better than I am, is I want to let people talk and not interrupt. So I want to be able to find out what their ideas are, right? As opposed to, I don't want to have somebody on, make them feel uncomfortable and then not be able to understand their ideas, right? Because there's a good chance their ideas are better than my ideas.
I can tell you, leading into that, I had a call with Bill Parnaby, and I told him, I was like, we're about to interview the housing minister, and I'm really worried Steve's going to get us in trouble. He's going to say something offside, or he's going to argue with him. Well, not that arguing is the issue. That would be fine, having different points of view. But you'd say something that would I
would assume a skilled politician's going to handle me pretty easy.
Yeah, probably.
Right? I'm sure he does. He has a lot worse.
I think you could hold your own.
Also, shout out to Chris, who says, love the show. Appreciate it, Chris. Thank you for
we
for
have
watching.
Many people watching right now, and very few comments.
Yeah, let us know if you just jumped in the stream. 43 people live right now watching. Let us know where you're from, what's going on. If there's any topic you want us to cover, happy to chat about it.
I did put down so there's an option when you go to YouTube to slow down the comments, because otherwise chatbots can enter. So you only get to, I think once a minute you get to put in a comment, but feel free, please do.
Gotcha.
We just got a question actually. Boys, if rates hold around 6% for the next year, what does Greater Vancouver area inventory of detached look like? So if we keep interest rates at 6% for the next 12 months, what do you think detached homes inventory? Let's go, Steve, because you're in this market. You answer that, then we'll give the Calgary and Toronto perspective of it.
In my market of the Valley, we're already showing signs that things are going to stop going up. So that's where I assume we're going to be. We'll wait and see what happens when we have rate announcement. Right. But today in my presentation, the other thing I brought up is 150,000 people, only 51,000 new homes. And to steal Ralph's quote that I'm using all the time now, which is, we are playing musical chairs and we're only bringing more people. We're not bringing more chairs, or not enough chairs, right? Every time 3 people walk in the room, we add 1 chair to the game of musical chairs. How's that going to go? And unfortunately, we're buying these musical chairs with 20% down and financing them, right?
Large debt.
Large debt. So it's not.
And we're not building any new chairs. Well, we're not building new chairs at the same pace that people are playing the game.
Also building really small chairs.
Yeah, chairs that fit one person, not a family, is what's happening.
Maybe people will learn to need less, right? I mean,
so do you remember though the first time? Sorry to interrupt. Do you remember the first time you came on this show and I said, I hope we have some sort of financial, crisis so people can learn about their finances better, because I think we're just not not understanding that, right? There's not enough people that care about their finances generally. I would say it's probably 1 in 10 people that really truly care about their finances.
Yeah, what I'm surprised about is how quickly old habits came back, right? And myself included in this, I just look at the spend that we had pre-pandemic. The best thing that ever happened to myself and my wife from a money perspective was the pandemic happening, and that's going, oh wow, look how much more money we have now that we're not spending it on everything. And then fast forward to the summer of 2023, and it's like, wow, I'm spending more than I was in 2019. And I think that's true for a pretty significant amount of consumers and people, and just we're back to the old habits. And now reflecting on what you said, maybe you're right. Maybe it would be good to have another little tiny financial crisis, so people had to think about that.
Has the financial crisis happened though that we were waiting for, that we told that unemployment is 5%? The layoffs are not happening at the rate we thought it was going to happen. Obviously the Bank of Canada, exactly. Yeah, but there's always a yet.
Yeah.
There was a yet at the end of last year. There's a yet at the beginning of last year. There's always going to be another one. Just to jump back here for the inventory question, I was just looking at the numbers as you guys were talking. Detached homes in Toronto right now are sitting at just under 2 months of inventory. And that's not just Toronto, that's Greater Toronto area, so everything. I think if rates stayed around 6% for 12 months, that would creep up to 3 to maybe 3.5. But I don't think it puts us into a buyer's market. I think we'll hover along on the cusp of sellers to balance, at least in Toronto.
So what do you think is happening in Calgary right now?
Well, I mean, on that topic, my question for you guys is, with respect to short-term rentals, what are the rules in your guys' markets? Because Calgary is always the Wild West and is with respect to short-term rentals.
We're shutting them down pretty hard.
Are they?
But there's such an easy workaround.
Do you need permits for them, or?
There's all sorts of stuff coming in, and it's always changing, and that's why I say it's a bad investment. But there's tons of people that all they do is you need, for instance, I think Whistler, I was talking to Lisa Hilton.
Yeah.
And she was saying that I think it's 3-month in a lot of place lease, right?
Yeah.
So what a ton of people do is they just sign a 3-month lease and charge them for 2 nights. They did that to me. Wow. And I mean, that's the workaround. The paperwork lines up, and it's not right, but the paperwork lines up. That happened to me. I went to New York in 2012, and we stayed in a Airbnb, and we signed a 30-day lease.
Yeah.
And we stayed for 6 nights.
Tell me where to sign that lease. I'm going to stay there. I'm going to pay them for 6 nights and stay there
Trust
for the entire month.
I thought that they must be taking on massive amounts of risk, but I guess if you're looking to break the law to stay a short-term rental, I'm not a big fan of short-term rental at all.
No. So here's the reason I asked that question is, I think it's kind of like in the Vancouver market, since that's what the question was asked. I think it's probably similar to foreign buyers. The perception of how much of an impact they have on the market is probably greater than the actual impact that they're having. But there's a whole bunch of interesting data about the Airbnb bust, which is if you live in a city that has strict short-term rental controls, but still allows a small portion of them, Airbnbs do very, very well for the person who holds the Airbnb. But when you get into markets where there's no restrictions like Calgary, everyone tries to get into it.
Too many.
And because there's too many, people don't do well. And then people forget that what they aren't doing when they're buying an Airbnb or doing an Airbnb is that they're not investing in real estate. What they're doing is they're competing in hospitality.
Yeah.
So think about that. Like where we're sitting right now, we're sitting in a Hyatt in downtown Vancouver. I'm looking at a Fairmont, and if I were to on that corner put an Airbnb, I might be able to survive. But if there's 100 of them, I'm not only competing with those 100 Airbnbs, but also 2 of the nicest hotels in Western Canada. So it's my curiosity is with respect to what's happening in the mindsets of people like the politicians who have control over those rules. And then if it gets restricted, if that's going to bring a little bit more housing to the market, and then how much of an impact that would have.
I can tell you in Toronto, because we saw this in 2019. Pre-pandemic, we put the Airbnb essential ban in Toronto. You could only do it if it was your primary residence, which was the opposite of what most people, they were buying condos just to do Airbnb. So it has to be on your driver's license. That's your address. You could only do it for 180 days of the year. And in it, the way it's classified is anything under 28 days. So then after 180 days of Airbnb, then you can do 29-day executive rentals or whatever.
There's always going to be a silly workaround.
But in houses, you can do your basement and whatnot. But if it's a condo, and what happened right away is it flooded the market with 1-year rental inventory.
Oh, interesting.
In 2019, which
And
is
that's
obviously all been
gone now.
absorbed now because the rental market's been tight. But at the moment, and then the pandemic hit, and then it was impossible to rent stuff.
Yeah.
And now it's impossible not to rent stuff.
I just don't know. Honestly, I don't think Airbnb is. It's almost like the penny stocks of real estate, right? Like people are trying to get like a more of a get rich quick. It doesn't make any sense. I think if you want to become an investor, for the most part, it's a lot more work that way. There's a lot more risk, and you can change at the drop of a hat. The government does something and totally screws you.
Yeah.
Just to add one thing, because I had this conversation. I'm not going to say the name, but they said they were doing Airbnb arbitrage in Calgary, and what they recognized, and that's where you lease a place with permission to then do short term. They realized, because he sells real estate, that they were spending so much time running the Airbnb arbitrage. It was so much not passive that they were not selling as much real estate as they used to.
Yeah.
So they've actually stopped it now, and they're only going to do Airbnbs now for the properties they actually buy and own. They're not doing it the arbitrage way.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, in Calgary, because it's the Wild West, there's so much inventory of Airbnbs that people are not doing well, except they've got this 10-day period that's coming up next week called the Calgary Stampede, where they make an insane amount of money for 10 days. And then the rest of the year, it's like they're screwed because they're competing with the Fairmonts and the Hiltons and the Hyatts of the world.
I got some rapid fire questions here just from the chat that I want to go over with you guys. So first one is, are you seeing a slowdown at open houses? Steve, you want to answer that?
I haven't had an open house for
What
a while.
open houses, right?
No, I haven't. I'm supposed to have one this weekend, but we just got an offer on the property that hit first.
So you can't have the open house because it's going to be sold.
Detached property, sight unseen, offer came in, still to deal with it, and just tons of activity. So I don't even know if we're going to go to the open house. So they have been fairly busy when I'm taking buyers out. I took buyers out the other day for the first time in 6 months because my team was on vacay, and it was busy out there.
The next question was, did prices go down in June compared to May?
Not in the Fraser Valley.
They did in Toronto. I'm looking at the numbers right now. So
Toronto
we'll do this.
crashing.
We'll do this live right now. Now, we had 5 months in a row in Toronto for every asset class and average price that prices went up from the beginning of the year. So June 2023, the average sale price In the Greater Toronto area is 1,182,120. So just under 1.2. If I go back to May, just give me a second here.
Is that seasonally adjusted or no?
No, that's just strictly average price. Yeah, so that's another good point. It was in May, it was 1,196. So we dropped $15,000 from May. So we are technically down in price.
Can you explain to me how you can seasonally adjust a price?
Yeah,
The price
totally.
is the price.
Yeah, so seasonally adjusting is like, let's say you have a market for a good like real estate. And let's say on average, you consistently see January, February, March be kind of flat, and then there's a whole bunch of activity, and then April, May, June, you see prices go up, and then July they get flat, right? So you typically see a greater increase in June than you would see in January. So when you seasonally adjust something, you basically take a look at the long-term trend, and you go, okay, well, typically houses should go up 5% in June, and they only go up 2% in January. But this year, they went up 2% in January, but only 4% in June. So in theory, you actually lost 1% in June because that's not what normally happens relative to history, right? So that's what seasonally adjusted is. It's like if you're seasonally adjusting for snow in Calgary, it's always 0 in the summer, but in the winter it is 100 centimeters. And if in January you got 90 centimeters and in December you got 80 centimeters, well, you actually got less snow than normal in January, even though you had more snow than you had in December. So that it's like you're trying to work out the numbers with respect
Franken numbers.
Yeah.
Just to acknowledge some of the comments here. So Chris says that he's glad he was following the trends. He took a variable in March 2022, but fixed in July. So Steve will be very happy about Chris. Congratulations.
Boom.
Colin says he was in Yaletown last week and restaurants were so busy I didn't see a recession. I went to a sushi restaurant in Yaletown literally last night or 2 nights ago, and it was packed.
Yeah.
So I would agree with that.
Well, we went to Cactus Club last night for a very traditional Vancouver meal, Cactus Club.
Yep.
And
It was very nice.
It was packed too.
It was slammed.
Yeah.
Slammed.
What I found amazing was how busy it was and how quick the food came out and how amazing the service was.
Yeah, it was good.
That
That's
was
why
wild.
that's actually why Vancouverians pick Cactus Club.
It's just like the safe option.
It's the safest, best, all the time. This episode of the Tom Story Show is brought to you by Cactus Club for when you want to go for a drink and get the same drink every time.
Hey, Cactus Club, if you're watching, this one's on the house. The next one you're going to have to pay for.
Yeah,
Okay?
we're taking sponsorships.
I'm going to need a cut on that.
We got a few people here that someone says, thanks to you guys, I sold my house this year at the top. Didn't buy then, and now I'm waiting till the market slows down to get in again. Hope we save some money. So that's kind of cool. Amy said she sold her condo in the waterfront to buy a house. This was December 2021 that she bought the house in Scarborough. Don't regret the house locking in 5 years at 3%. That's obviously great. But I really do miss downtown. Amy, I moved from downtown to East Toronto, not quite as far as Scarborough, but on the way. And I miss downtown too. I loved living downtown. I miss it.
Really enjoyed your house, probably more than you.
That pad you had was pretty cool. Yeah.
I just wanted to be near your house.
But my new house, I can walk down
I could
to the water.
rent it from you because you were there all the time, and that's a bit of a pain.
Can't you walk down to the water from the old place too?
Yes, but different water. Like you can walk down to downtown water where you're not going in there, and there's no beach.
It was so
where
cool
I'm at
to,
now. There's a beach.
Yeah,
okay.
we
Gotcha.
walked to the Leafs games, and everything was like, let's walk to this bar or whatever. It was really cool, and I kind of got that same feel. I kind of got that same feel coming up from dinner last night, where I was just like, man, Cole Harbour is awesome.
You should have kept that place so we could sign 30-day leases with you for 6 nights.
I wanted to keep that place, but it just
didn't work.
The numbers, trust me, I would have loved to keep that place. Chris is asking, do you see many first-time home buyers who bought in 2017-18 that are not able to renew those rates today?
Not a chance.
You haven't seen it? To be honest, I've seen all those people. They're now calling me to sell that property because they've made so much money on the equity, and they've maybe got into a relationship, they have dual income, and now they're actually jumping up.
Yeah.
But with big down payments on the next place because of the equity.
But I did a video on this on my channel where it was like, it wasn't uncommon in 2018, rates were going up. So you had a lot of 359 to 389s. So it wasn't like if somebody recently got into a 489, like, yeah, it went up, but it didn't go up crazy. What we are starting to see is just people that have hung on to the variables, and
those silly people.
You don't have an option now to even switch lenders, and now what's variable? 6%, or sorry, fixed now is getting close to 6%. Most places.
Well, fixed
Scotiabank's
is
probably
like
higher.
around 5.5.
Yeah,
depending on
Scotiabank. Like, I don't know what's going on with Scotiabank, but it's
rumors.
like they don't want to be in the mortgage business at all right now.
I heard. Yeah,
there's a couple of rumors that I've heard. I don't want to kind of propagate them, but I think with every bank in general right now, like, their commercial books suck. Could you imagine having these, $100 million buildings that, one, aren't leased, two, the mortgages aren't getting paid on them, and three, aren't worth what the mortgages on them are? Like, they're underwater two ways. Like, the banks are like, I don't even want it.
We've got window washers on the way up past our hotel room right now.
Yeah,
What's
that's
up?
awesome. Welcome to Vancouver. They don't even wash the windows in Calgary.
No,
they just leave them. Green Bean will like that. I don't think Green Bean likes Calgary.
Sorry, go on.
But isn't that crazy? Like, the banks, so Brookfield just handed keys back in San Francisco on 2 properties. There's a property in Calgary that just had the keys handed back. And the crazy thing is that the banks are going, I don't want them. And the owners are going, I don't want them. So, like, what do you do?
What's happening?
Yeah. So I think that's part of the reason why some of the banks aren't necessarily super aggressive in the lending market. Now, if you want to talk about rumors you heard about Scotiabank, by all means, go ahead. But
but just to clarify that, you're saying that Scotiabank's current posted rates are insanely high because they don't want. They're not trying to compete.
They're actively trying not to lend right now.
100%.
So you can secure. I mean, they'll lend only if it's really in their benefit, right? So that means there's some sort of constraint on their end.
Yeah, and I think there's also there's a lot of things that could be happening. I think there's the potential that if they sit there right now and they aren't taking on new mortgages, but they have mortgages coming up for renewal and they're priced 0.5% outside the market, well, if they can hold on to that business and sign it for more, those are the properties that, are not going to go down in value. They've gone up in value. They've got existing clients. If they can sign them at a higher rate, that's super profitable. I could see a bank looking at the market right now and going, we don't want to be lending in this market because the housing prices could go down.
Yeah.
And if they go down, well, then we don't want to take those properties back, especially if they're at 20% down payment. I think they could be looking at their commercial books going, wow, what if that happens in residential and we're double screwed on the commercial and the residential side? But yeah, Scotiabank's from a pricing standpoint, and by the way, I'm not saying that any of this is what's happening at Scotiabank.
It just doesn't look like they're competing.
I have no idea why they're doing it.
We only have speculation.
But they're 100% priced higher than the rest of the market
Interesting.
right now.
Yeah. We got a comment here. Hometown fave Steve. Someone likes you, Steven.
No way.
With NDP new 4-unit announcement, crystal ball chances of garden suites coming to North Delta within 5 years. Great interview, by the way. Garden suites, Steve, what do you think?
I mean, Ravi said, go back and watch it. They're like,
hey, be nice, Steve.
Everything
Hometown.
No.
Steve.
What I'm saying is, like, I'm sorry. I go through this with my family a lot. What I meant is, we covered this and it was awesome. It was a great. I encourage everybody that missed it. Yeah, it's all coming. It's all coming. Everything. He basically made it sound like we're going to let the market decide, which is crazy that the NDP would say that. But they're going to let the market decide what type of housing fits the density plan. Yeah. So they don't want to say this is the type of home you can build there.
Right.
So garden suites, guys are going to build them. I think they're going to be throwing away money initially, just like they would be in Toronto. But I see what's going to happen is I really think they're going to take those 1960s, 70s rancher, like small houses, tear them down and put up 3 units like your old townhouse, just like on a 60-foot lot. That's what they are.
I mean, I think it's interesting that the NDP is going, we're going to let the open market decide. But here's the problem, and this isn't an NDP conversation at all. it doesn't matter if they start allowing fourplexes or garden or suites or anything else for that matter, because the risk for a builder right now to build is so high. The cost to borrow the money is so high. And the type of properties that they're talking about approving are not the type of properties that big institutional builders build. They're the type of properties that small builders build, and the risk for small builders is so significant right now that what's going to have to happen is that those guys are going to have to come in, they're going to have to buy those properties, and they're going to have to hold them for 4 or 5 years until the risk goes away. And then once the risk goes away, then they can start doing the building. But you're 5 years out just on the change to the rules.
That's my whole market.
Is it?
That's my entire
What's
market.
the interest rate on a building loan? Like if you were to build it,
No, but that's why guys. So what guys will do mostly in Surrey is they will buy any sort of remotely livable old crappy house, get a regular loan on it, and then save up, rent it out, save up for another 4 or 5 years, then build.
Yeah.
Right. So now it looks like, oh, I bought a cheap lot 5 years ago. That is almost my entire market for detached.
They're all waiting for the market to come to the price they paid to make it feasible to build something, right? And then you got all the other costs. I mean, I know lumber's gone down. I know all those costs have gone down, but they haven't gone down enough to make up for the increase in interest rates. And to answer your question, the building costs on them is essentially line of credit pricing.
oh, gotcha.
right?
Okay.
So,
But sorry to interrupt. That's what Brad Lamb brought up with us. Was he's like, cool story, guys. What are you going to do? Your little infill projects? He's like, I'm trying to do 500, 600, 700 units at a time and fix this problem.
yeah.
And
That's a good point.
He doesn't even want to entertain it, right?
what does it really matter? So you're going to let
wouldn't make
everybody
a dent
build
for
3
them.
units. They're not all building 3 units tomorrow. You could take down 10 of those properties, put up a massive condo, and fix the problem better.
Like, sorry guys, you're buying votes. That's great, but you're 10 years too late.
yes.
Yeah. So we had over 50 people watching here, which is pretty cool. So if you're new to jumping in here and you didn't get in right at the beginning, let us know where you're from in the chat, where in Canada or outside Canada. That would be cool if you're outside Canada. And let us know if there's anything you want us to cover, because we had topics written down here, but I think it's kind of fun just to jump in from what the chat's saying and discuss
that's
it.
wicked.
So someone asked here, when is the next best time to buy this December or January? Rates should still be
last January.
Yeah. Now,
Yesterday.
here's my answer to that. I think based on the username here, I think you're around the GTA. I could be wrong. I've seen your comments a lot. So not January, because we see every year that January picks up immediately because inventory drops off. So December is usually historically the month that average sale price is the lowest after December 15th. But then on the other side, there's literally nothing to choose from. There's nothing on the market. I'm actually looking forward here, and our team is working with a ton of buyers right now. They're trying to figure out what they want to do and get into the market. If Bank of Canada goes up on the 12th, which is a very high chance that they do, even with the last inflation numbers, if I'm a buyer right now, and I fully recognize me saying this as a real estate agent could be flipped to real estate agent says buy now, but hear me out for a sec. If I'm a buyer, Bank of Canada goes up, I'm not taking a variable anyways. I'm taking a 3-year fix because I'm not a maniac that would take a 5-year fix like Steve thinks. And there's going to now be less competition because the next rate hike is going to get everyone up here. Not necessarily in the bank account, but it's going to get them up here. They're going to go, whoa, 2 in a row. Okay, even if they're done now, that's going to plush the seasonality of the summer market's going to slow down. There's going to be leftover inventory that's going to be sitting. Inventory is going to build over the summer. If I'm a buyer right now and I've got a 5-year perspective, I'm going, well, maybe if there's something in August, I'll jump in. Because usually September jumps up. Like August and December are historically, at least in Toronto, the 2 months that the best deals happen, but there's also 50% less to choose from.
People think that when interest rates come down, that's going to be a good time.
No, the prices are going to
and
go
it's
up.
like interest rates are only coming down if it's a bad time, guys. Like that's going to be the problem. I always think like right now I was looking at investing some cash and I'm like, oh yeah, the cash isn't the reason the market goes up so crazy a lot of the time is because there's a lot more cash available to invest. Yeah. And a lot of people don't have that cash to invest. So, I mean, there's some stocks. I don't know, after today, it was a pretty red day on the market.
Yeah, bond yields are up, which, to answer that question, quit trying to time the freaking market.
Yeah.
And I don't mean this like to whoever asked that. I don't mean this in a like stop it kind of way, but like just in general, people need to stop going and looking at 3-year mortgages because somebody said rates are going to come down in 3 years. 3 years is a long time from now. And 3 months ago, they were saying we're going to pause interest rates, and now we're going to be up 0.5% in basically a 3-month period. And I know you.
No, I just had a thought. I had a thought.
Keep it, because this is going to get good. Okay, so let's say right now we saw housing prices come down a little bit in Toronto, and we're going to expect that they come down a little bit more by December. The gap between where fixed rates and variable rates normally sit is inverted right now, and we're like 1 to 1.5% difference on where those rates should be. So in other words, the fixed rate should be substantially higher than it is, or the variable rate should be substantially lower than it is. The variable rate's not coming down anytime soon, which means that the fixed rate's probably going to continue to go up. It went up 20 basis points today.
Yeah.
It's by Monday, fixed rates are going to be up by 0.2%. So what that means is that we're sitting here trying to time the market between now and December on when to buy, but in just a day, just a single day, we've got almost a 2.5% increase on the borrowing costs. So what are you trying to catch? Like 1% decrease in what you're going to buy the house for between now and December, but in a single day, you are paying 2.5% more on the interest rate. And what if that interest rate goes up by another 0.5%? The fixed rate goes up by another half percent by December. So now you're at basically a 5% higher borrowing cost. You save 1% because you waited till December. You're netting out over the life of the mortgage. You're going to end up paying 4% more for that. And that, by the way, is the 1%, 10% rule. So 1% increase in interest rates equals a 10% increase in the borrowing costs over the life of the mortgage.
Yeah, I don't know. What can we do to convince people that the right time to buy is when the market is bad? January was my second worst month of my career.
Stop showing off.
Right?
January.
This last January. Well, of the number of transactions.
What was the worst month?
Less than January.
The first one.
With less than zero,
which month
Steve.
was it, though? The
No,
first one?
no. We did two transactions in January. And I want to say there was one August many years ago where we did one. We had 5 collapses that August.
Oh, wow.
But like that is the time when you should be buying, and everybody. See, we had Steve Soretsky on the podcast, and he was like, "Listen, everybody's waiting for better, better, better." And he's like, "They waited too long," and that's what we clipped and put in the. And it was like. He was right.
Yeah.
There was showing signs that I remember being on a coach call with Dana, and he's like, I have multiple high producing team members that think the bottom was the 3rd week of November last year. Now this is mostly GTA.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't just totally disagree with you. The numbers show January, but we all know the numbers lag a little bit.
And the buying activity happens for January happens in December, November, right? So like the oh wait, no, you guys run your stats different because you run when the contract's written, when it actually closes. Okay, never mind,
we don't run closing.
No. So in my world and typically in the normal world of finances or anything else, when the money transfers is typically
that's what it
realtors count it when, and there's nothing wrong with this, by the way, but most of the real estate boards in North America count it when the contract's written and it goes firm is when it's counted, right?
It's a Canadian
That's a
thing.
sale.
That's a sale.
On the system that goes into the stats.
Yeah, and you're right. It is a Canadian thing because it's totally different in the U.S.
One of my big arguments about how the system is broken. I have a topic that I'm going to do on a video, but we should probably bring it up here. The Fraser Valley Real Estate Board, Vancouver Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver. Yeah,
no
sure,
idea.
whatever it is. Chillax.
No idea.
They all got together, and we now have a disclosure of multiple offers form.
Oh, yeah.
Of which we must now provide to the buyers of any offer. So it's coming out. I think it's 11 days. It comes into effect. I want to point out this is a very good thing. Transparency is awesome. It's great. And guess who implemented it? The realtors.
Not the regulating body.
Not the regulating body, not anybody else.
So this is now about how many pages you need to buy a house in
That's it.
in your market?
We're at
Like,
about
that's
5-6
how many-
pages,
it's like-
6 to 8 pages of contract, about 36 pages of disclosure.
Ours, it's actually funny because we got ahead of you guys on that. We've had the 801 form for several years now. It's not, we don't have to send it
We have
unless
to provide it in 24 hours,
yeah, we don't have to.
which is I love that idea. So now I get to see
NDP.
the brokerage name of the competing offer.
Mm-hmm.
I will get a list of how many offers there were, and it must be signed by the seller to say that they received and presented or were presented all of those offers. So I'm a big
I think
fan.
that's fine. It's great.
Is that a realtor rule
Video
or
to
is
come.
it legal?
It is the rules of cooperation. So in order to be compliant as a real estate agent in the real estate board, you must fill out this form.
But it has to be signed by the seller, and the seller
I'm sure the seller
doesn't
couldn't technically refuse.
legal obligation to.
Yeah,
I'm from Alberta, so
yeah. No,
doesn't-
so all of our disclosure forms actually have this little bracket next to the seller's signature that says optional, which is hilarious because then you can actually, you could actually just, well, yeah, I showed it to him. He refused to sign and just put in a blank one. BCFSA, if you're listening. Easy way to get around stuff. But yeah, there is a lot of argument for the client can refuse the information, and then you just have to document that on the like seller refused to sign.
we talked a little bit about this last night, and not something I plan to talk about today at all, but I think it's getting really confusing for a consumer now. What's a legal obligation when it comes to buying and selling a house, and what is a regulator is legal, but what's like a board cooperation obligation? And I mean, Alberta's like really cracked down on this the last couple of years. It's like if a client gives you a legal instruction, it's a legal instruction, and then they have debates about what legal instructions are, but it makes it more clear.
We did that with assignment of contract. So you could, Christy Clark, as she was getting voted out, tried to stay in power by assignment of contract was then named shadow flipping. Right, it's called assignment of contract because you're assigning a piece of paper, but whatever. Shadow flipping now.
Shadow flipping
So you
sounds
gotta
way
demonize
better.
it.
Sounds way better on the on the news headline.
By the way, coming up, we just recorded another podcast. I have a new one coming up on Sunday. It's for a new term that we're gonna bring in.
Is it like starting to call mortgage penalties F-off fees?
Pretty. Yes,
the Logan
it's very
Roy
much-
swearing at you.
It's very much like that. So we're gonna bring that in.
That's Tim Hudak coming this Sunday.
this Sunday.
Yeah.
So they brought in removal of assignment of contract, but they can't because that's governed under contract law. So you would actually have to
Which is federal,
change-
not provincial.
Which you would have to change contract law.
Didn't that happen with the blind bidding? There was something that happened from federal that never went anywhere because it wasn't their decision to make.
Yeah, that's all.
It was
real
judiciary,
estate.
not
Yeah.
All real estate is governed provincially,
yeah.
not federally. So they were like, yeah, cool. We're going to now put in a rule where the real estate agents have to insert a no assignment clause in every single transaction that they write. However, if the buyer then decides that they don't want that in, we have to follow their legal
instruction
and cross it out, which then comes with another page of disclosure.
I've got two things I want to bring up here. Someone's
Fraser
asking.
Valley Real Estate Board stats. I'm going to go grab my phone and grab them.
Okay, go grab your phone. And then the next comment is great from Eddie Spaghetti. The system is far too corrupted.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, he's gonna do the parkour thing over the bed.
Oh, he's going to jump over the bed?
No, I'm not parked.
Go on. The system is far too corrupted.
So here's what I would just to acknowledge that, because I can understand there's a lot of things that happen in real estate, and then I can understand how the view of the public sees it and goes, that's not fair. This isn't like I get the other side of the opinion most of the time. If you're just looking at it from like a news headline or reading an article that's aggressively trying to make it look bad. What do you think would happen if tomorrow real estate agents, mortgage brokers, whatever the equation, and everyone just sold their house with no representation to each other, and they could only deal with a bank? And like, do you not think it would be an absolute shit show? Like, we complain all the time about the new regulations. We make jokes about it, how ridiculous it is with the paperwork.
Most complaints from consumers are not understanding the contract in the process. They're not actually incorrect procedures.
Well, look at the data from NAR that was presented this week. So the National Association of Realtors in the U.S. and the satisfaction rate for for buyers and sellers is like 82%.
Yeah, it's pretty high.
Right? So that means that 82% of people bought or sold a home and paid a ridiculous amount of money and then were completely satisfied. If realtors went away, I can't say the same for mortgage brokers, because I think, as much as I'm in that business, I think if consumers just got really, really well educated, they could probably go into their bank and get a really good deal, or through a non-bank lender, they could get a really good deal. But because you're dealing with an organization, not just that has rules, not just another consumer, but if you create a scenario where it's consumer to consumer on a $500,000 or $1 million transaction, like, wow, lawyers are going to make way more money than any realtors ever paid, because there's going to be a lot of conflict by not having representation.
Yeah.
Before we get to stats, I'm going to try that.
You want to take a sip of this?
Yeah.
Okay, people, for the record, this is a monumental moment. Steve wants to take a sip of my sour beer.
I had a
Do you want to pour it in a little bit?
Okay, I thought
Just
you were
a
going to take
bit.
it right
That's
at the
plenty.
end.
That's
I'm
it?
sure that's plenty.
It's not,
What is it called? It's a peach lemon. Ugh.
peach lemon zest. It's not the normal sours I drink, just to be clear, but it's here, so I'm drinking it. Canadian Rams fan has entered the chat. Welcome. I know you just tied up a property that you're waiting on inspection. Let me know if it went through. That's awesome. You have a problem there. And then just before we get to the stats, Chris is saying, do all realtors have access to a list of houses under power of sale? I can go onto my real estate board and search that word and get a list of properties, but I don't have like an exclusive list outside of that.
You guys have power of sale. We have court ordered sale.
Okay.
We can search the MLS.
So the answer is yes. I think we could do it
search
easily.
the MLS,
Yeah.
buy it. However, guess what, guys? You're not getting a deal on a power of sale foreclosure. If anything,
You just had something
you're
happen.
overpaying.
Yeah.
Did I say that in one of the? So just so everybody understands what's happening, we have done a ton of in person. So we're going to start releasing those continuously. And did we cover this? I think we covered this. Spoiler alert. No, that's not spoiler alert. Tune in for the future shows, because there was a power of sale around the corner from me, foreclosure. And there's another one right next door to it right now. And I'm interested to let everybody know. And I did let everybody know the other day on a future episode.
The result is very surprising based on it being in that situation, what they paid for it. And then he's gagging over it. It's not that bad. You're overreacting.
Oh, it's so bad.
You're sipping on, what are you sipping on? Whiskey?
I want it out of here because I'm going to put some more Nectar Noir in here.
You want me to wash it out for you?
Oh, it's so bad, Noel.
Oh my God.
I want to take a picture of him.
Okay.
I'm going to do the stats.
Let's do the stats. Fraser Valley. Let's tell the people what is going on.
You don't have to drink it, man.
You guys.
It's so bad. Your taste buds are on upside down.
Hey, just because you're making an issue.
That really is not good, though.
Okay, come on.
Do they all taste like that?
No. This is a 10% sour beer, which is not normal.
Sorry, Gold Sour.
They're all terrible in their own way. They don't all taste the same, but they all taste equally as bad.
Okay, you've been pushing this off too long, so I'm going to hit the people quickly with the Toronto stats. Okay. As of today, oh no, these are May. Hold on. Oh no, let me get to June. I don't want. Okay, I'm here. As of today, the average detached property in Toronto was 1,785, just under 1.8. Semis were 1.4 million. Townhouses were $1 million. Condos were at $770,000 in the 416 area code. In the 905, detached were 1.45, just under 1.5. Semis were $1 million, townhouses were 963, and condos were 674. So better value in the 905. That's not really surprising to say. That's always been the case. There was 7,000 sales, which is 16% more sales than we saw June of 2022. New listings were down 3%. Interesting. So new listings continue to be down year over year. Active listings were also down 12% year over year. Average price was up 3% year over year and down like 0.2% month over month. Like it was very close. So there's your Toronto update. Steve, give us the Fraser Valley update.
Fraser Valley board, Tom Story. Fraser Valley board, 1,935 sales. Last year was 1,281. So we're up 51% in number of sales year over year.
Wow.
Up 13% since last month at 1,711. So the average price increased 5.6% year over year and 1.1% month over month. New listings are up, but down since last month. So active listings are down 8%, up 7% from last month. So active listings are there's a lot more choice now in the Fraser Valley. There's a lot more choice. That being said, I received a sight unseen offer last night. So
Insane.
it is insane. It's still
A
all over the
conditional
place.
site. I guess all your offers are conditional now, though, because the cooling off period. But
Yeah. Well, I can't discuss it. It's not accepted. But it was sight
that
unseen.
NDP too?
cooling off.
They did
Cooling
not
off
write
period?
me an unconditional offer last night.
No, but did the NDP do the
they
cooling
brought
off
in
period?
cooling off period.
Oh.
Yeah, which is silly. It is very hard to understand.
By the way, someone's
Also too late.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they brought it in and then things heated up again. But so they did release a report on it though, and the amount of rescissions and all of that stuff. They've actually done a fantastic report on it. Probably something. Did we cover that on another one of these too? I think we covered it with the Tim Hudak.
yeah, that's
so
coming out this Sunday.
We
So
went over it, and I did a video on my channel. I should send you that report because you're going to be amazed at what's gone on. What they did was the BC FSA, so the regulating body, the government, requested from all of the brokerages all of the contracts. They got 62% compliance. So they got, over the period of time, there was like 5,000 sales or something. They got 3,200 of the offer situations and all of the other offers. Like when there are offers, they also requested the ones that were not accepted. So they got all the information. They got 62% of the total transactions and everything they found with it. And it was remarkably unremarkable. It was exactly where
it was
we
exactly
say it
what
is.
we thought it actually was behind the scenes, but that's not what the news
Tom's
was
like,
about.
this happens 90% of the time. And I'm actually, he didn't see the report and I'm reading it and it's literally 90% of the time.
What I find really interesting is that the regulator asked for something and only got 62% compliance.
Yeah, where was the rest of it?
What happened with the other 38% of brokerages?
Well, that's welcome to real estate. Brokerages are just as bad as agents in some spots, right?
That's insane.
It wasn't mandatory.
Oh, okay.
It was a request.
And they got okay,
And
that's
they got,
amazing.
yeah,
pretty
no,
good
no,
then.
it wasn't
That's
like you.
also insane, but in the opposite direction. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't like you lose your license if you don't comply.
Okay.
And then they tossed out some of them for bad data. They break it down. It's really cool.
Now they put penalties in. So if somebody rescinds the contract, there's a penalty, right?
It's gonna be so bad. Yes, but no.
Okay.
The penalty has nothing to do with the brokerages, so it's like an honor system. It's like then the broker, like me as the listing agent, if someone rescinds, I can't help my seller go after the money.
Oh, what?
It's
really?
not, yeah, it's actually excluded out of the contract. So it's in the contract, but the actual term excludes the brokerages, so they don't have to go bickering over the money, and the seller has to take if the buyer doesn't pay it, the seller has to take the buyer to small claims or whatever.
I have so does the brokerage have to hold that money, that penalty fee in trust until that's
Only
figured
if
out?
only if they've paid the deposit, and we don't pay deposit until firm.
Oh,
So most of the time, no.
interesting.
I
Okay.
got two first-time home buyer questions. Do you guys see radical policy coming from the government to correct the market in favor of first-time home buyers, like additional taxes on multiple property homeowners, limit on buying homes?
That won't fix.
No, sure, but no, I don't see that. I don't see that coming, and I think first-time home buyers, like land transfer, at least in Toronto where we pay double, half of it should just be removed. I know we have the first-time home buyer credit, but half the time it does nothing. It's like instead of paying $24,000, you pay $18,000. Like,
I can't believe how much the taxes are in your guys' market
nutty.
to just transfer a property. Like we don't have that in Alberta. You pay the lawyer $800.
I couldn't believe how
and-
his are even higher than ours. And I'm like, oh, that's not.
well, and
the
then
first mortgage, like
Yeah.
when I got licensed in Ontario, the first mortgage we did in Toronto, I was like, "What do you mean? There's $25,000 worth of fees that I also have to?"
sneaky.
It's like, wow.
It brings the city of Toronto just on the municipal side $1 billion a year in revenue. So it ain't going nowhere.
So if anything, actually, they're going the other way, because we have first time homebuyer exemption up to $500,000 with a bunch of other terms, and they haven't increased that since 2017. So in 2017, when prices were at least 50% less than they are now, the first-time home buyer could get you into a detached property in my market. Now it cannot. It wouldn't be a nice detached property.
What percentage would you say the transactions happening right now are first-time home buyers versus move-up buyers?
Oh, I can like the activity in the lower end market right now.
Yeah, it's huge.
I just did 3 market updates in Calgary, Vancouver, and Toronto.
Did you do them all in Vancouver?
I only did. I did 2 of them in Vancouver.
Nolan flew to Vancouver.
I can see the room I did it from.
Nolan flew to Vancouver to do a market update in Vancouver.
That was the only reason.
Dedication.
I came to Vancouver.
Yeah.
And then I filmed it from a hotel room, and it's like a 2-second clip out the window. But what I can tell you is that all 3 of those markets, the activity is in the lower end market, which means which would indicate that it's predominantly first time buyers. Now, what's really interesting about Calgary's market, for example, is not only are the apartment condos and the row houses selling way more than the detached, which indicates, again, first time home buyers, but the gravitation towards the parts of the city that traditionally have significantly lower prices is insane. So like the rest of the city's up 5%, and the east side of the city, which is predominantly the place where people prefer not to buy homes if they don't have to, is up 15%.
Because people are going there now because of the prices.
Just to get in, right?
Interesting.
And, and that could be new immigration. But the great thing about that for those communities is that is typically what brings those communities back from the brink. Because when you get a massive influx of people, that typically surges that little microeconomy, and then that ends up being a really good thing for those areas.
I can only speak for our clients, for what we've done. Like market data, you don't know exactly how many were first time home buyers. Like you can look in price ranges and make the assumption, which is probably fair. But our business, we've done a ton of first time home buyers this year, a ton of first time sellers, the move up buyers, and smaller amounts of investors and smaller amounts of downsizers. So I would say 80% of our business is either first time home buyers or move up buyers.
I haven't seen an investor application. Like maybe I've seen 1 or 2. But realistically, in 12 months, there's been almost 0 investors.
Yeah, it's certainly cooled down.
We're more than 50%.
Your team's transactions?
We got 23 buys to date. We're more than 50% of those are first timers. Interesting though, we are seeing the first time buyer investor.
Yeah. Where they don't move into it.
Staying with mom and dad and like, cool, I got all this cash. I'm making good money. I make 125 grand a year now.
Are they putting 20% down?
Yes.
They probably have. They have to, right?
Yes.
Because we see on occasion the first-time home buyer investor that's putting 5% down. At which point we have to provide them the definition of what mortgage fraud is.
Yeah, and if you get the land transfer tax credit, at least in my market, you have to move in within 9 months, or sometime down the road they could come but knocking back and want it back from you plus interest. So. Just be very, very clear on that. So we're an hour in here, guys. Chat's been fun.
Speaking of an hour, how many watches did you bring to Vancouver?
Actually, just 2.
Just 2?
Just 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was so funny. He was playing some board games with my daughters, and he handed me one of his watches, and he was trash talking. He asked my daughter what she thought that watch was worth.
It was pretty funny.
What did she say? She said, you said something like it's worth like, was it $4 or $25 or something like that?
I think I said it was worth $25. It's like very hard to get Rolex, just to put perspective on it.
So she turned to him and says, you know, you can get a watch exactly like that at the dollar store for less than $4.
In full conviction, like this watch is nothing special. I can get something the exact same for $4.
I mean, just because it's been brought up in previous episodes of me being live with you, it's the Pepsi Rolex, right?
Yes. Yeah. That was my son was born watch. That was my very special.
Oh, was that your push present?
To myself?
So
That's
nice.
not what it's called.
Tom's gonna go red. Yeah, man, we can wrap. We got a ton of people here. We appreciate everybody being here. I want to shout out what we have coming up this week. Tim Hudak
Who's Tim
CEO?
Hudak?
Former Conservative Party leader of Ontario. Currently the CEO of
The Ontario
Oria.
Real Estate Association.
Yeah. Super
wow,
smart guy.
cool, okay.
Yeah. So second time on the show, he'll be back.
And he had opinions on our new mayor. He had opinions on the new mayor of Toronto.
Good or bad?
Interesting.
I'm going to say both.
Cool.
I'm going to say both. He did not hold back, and he was not a terrible person at all about it. He was very good, and it was awesome. So that's coming up. And then we actually reached out to a few people that we know.
And you got Grant Cardone.
Uncle
That's
G.
amazing.
We have way better
Okay,
than that.
Grant Cardone, if you're watching, you
Yeah.
got to get on the Tom Story Show.
We have one of the biggest real estate podcasters in the country coming up the week after that. We have a very controversial person coming up, which I love. I think he's a great dude. He's coming up, and then we have somebody
Make a face like him.
that is. I don't know.
That's the Scotch talking. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
we have somebody that we recorded with that I'm going to try and make the best thumbnail of all time, because this is someone that we never want to miss. Like, this is someone who has the doom and gloomers should watch this. They're going to love it.
30 years of experience helping people in very, very tough financial situations and how housing is involved.
He sees the worst of it.
Wow.
And yeah, we recorded that, and it is he's a guy I've known for a long time, and it was really, really interesting. So these are all teasers. These are all coming up. We're going to have an amazing summer. We tried to do as many in person because we like them a lot better. It's interesting. I can tell now when Tom, when I'm looking across from him, when he's like, please don't say that. Please don't say that. Please don't say that, because I get it 3 or 4 times. Yeah,
Just
So
kick-
so he
kick him under
feels
the
like
table.
he's your wife.
There is one spot in one of the episodes that we have coming up where I thought Tom was going to make me cut it out, but I don't think he is. So we'll see.
I think I called you your full name because you were offside. I called him Steven. Just to wrap up here, Chris is saying, so BNN reported the 12-month rolling total of net international migrants, which includes permanent residents, is now nearly
Yes.
1.2 million people coming to Canada. Our housing starts are at historic lows.
Which has a lot to do with my offside comment.
Is this sustainable, or will the government pull back? I don't think the government's going to pull back on immigration.
And
I don't.
And it is not sustainable.
And it's probably not sustainable for long-term housing prices unless we build a ton of
And
houses.
we're only thinking about housing. What about
That's
medical? What about
Yeah.
all these
that's,
other things?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Forget housing, forget real estate values. Like, what you're seeing right now is a fundamental.
Good luck saying
Again,
that
that's
word
the
again.
Scotch talking about. It's a fundamental change in
Our
the
whole
country.
country. Our whole country.
And it's going to be more prevalent in some provinces than others, but it is a fundamental change in how we operate as a country, for
Yeah,
sure.
and which is what Ravi Callan said, which is, hey man, it's changing. Get used to it.
Andy's asking if we're doing any more live streams this weekend. I don't. Not planned.
Are we doing? What are we just gonna live stream?
I'll get
tomorrow?
internet on the plane.
That would
and we'll
actually
do
be
a
good
live
use of time.
stream.
That would be a good use of time. No, we have
But we will do more though. I really like this. Even if we're not in person, I think live streams create a whole different dynamic of this.
They do, but we did as many in persons as we could possibly do, because we want to reach some pretty cool people over the next little bit. It was awesome. I appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, thank you,
It was
Nolan.
great to see you at your first Richard Robbins International event. We hope you come to more in the future. We hope realtors that are watching come to more in the future, because man, was that not the coolest group of people you've been around in a long time.
I gotta say, okay, so I gotta give the quick plug for Richard Robbins, which I will fully acknowledge, and I acknowledged to him earlier. I saw him 10, 15 years ago and was just like, meh. And seeing him this last 2 days, and thank you, Tom, for encouraging me to come. It was amazing. I've never seen a better put on show by anybody. Just the stuff that wasn't even the presentation was so dialed in. Joe Polish was
shout out to Joe Polish.
freaking amazing.
It was cool.
If you're not familiar with him, check him out. Tom, you got to give a little spiel on what he does.
Yeah.
And then just the level of people. I've never been in a room full of realtors where I was like, oh, where's the sleazy guy? And he just didn't exist. He
And
wasn't there.
He actually sat beside you the whole time.
I was the
Tom
sleazy
Sawyer.
guy who was beside you on the left.
I thought it was me. I was like, who is it? Oh, fuck, it's me.
And just to explain to people what we're talking about, us as real estate agents pay a company to coach us to get better, give better information, have better services and systems for our clients, which then goes to the consumer. So I think these companies are really good that they exist. It's like a golf pro having a coach, having a caddy. It's the same thing for our industry. We pay them a lot of money to bring better services to you guys. So I hope the end product, improves because of that. If you've been watching the stream the whole time and you're still here, make sure to throw us a like on this live stream because we have not asked for it once.
We got 17 likes. Just toss in any comments you can in the last few seconds here before we wrap up. I like doing lives. I'm shocked we haven't had trolls.
Everyone's been so much fun.
You guys just spent the last 6 months blocking them all.
We have definitely tried to help some people with their mental health by not letting them be shown in our comments. Yeah. I'm not even going to hide that. Like, I don't think there's a bunch of people that say some pretty terrible things.
This is your front door, and if somebody shows up and they take and they leave a steaming bag and light it on fire, you have every right to clean that up.
Yeah.
All right, boys, that was fun. Thank you, everybody, so much. If you've been hanging out with us for the last hour,
finally we get some good comments in here. Steve would crush Nolan's melon. I got a bunch of hearts coming up on the screen.
Steve would crush Nolan's melon. Why are you crushing my melon?
I don't know.
Who's that guy?
I don't know, but that's a good comment, man. Sure. We had when we posted the photo that we took in the bed.
Oh yeah, if anyone hasn't seen that, go to the community tab of this podcast.
The comment there about realtors being in bed with mortgage brokers it made my
it was hilarious.
Amazing.
Hilarious.
I didn't even see that one.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I hope you enjoyed the live stream. We'll try to do this again in the future. Upcoming episode this Sunday, Tim Hudak. I think it's going to be one you're going to want to watch, especially if you're passionate about the new mayor of Toronto, Olivia Chow. Lots of interesting opinions on that. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And peace. Thanks, guys.
Subscribe to Steve's channel. Beat Tom to 10,000.
Let's do that.
Who would win an arm wrestling contest between the three of you? Probably Nolan.
Let's do it right now.
Steve,
let's find out.
All right, man. Thanks for doing this, Nolan.
Amazing. Thank you.
I love both you guys. Let's go for dinner or do something.
New record for the most sign-offs in history.
Oh, cheers from Argentina. Thanks for watching from Argentina.
It's over.
What's dropping faster, Steve's weight or